We got ourselves Cat. Wait, is that Cat? It is Cat. Okay. Usually it swaps down to Trados, who never get to play. Hopefully Trados will actually get a chance to play. We got ourselves Cat, Trados in the back. We got ourselves Lay with Shadow Pits. We got Christina Zafarrell, as well as Unstoppable. I swear, like, reading your name, it sounds like I have dyslexia. Unstoppable. Jeez. We got ourselves Kata in the back with, looks like Dalaran is going to be first up. Dalaran versus Catchican Fury versus the Arms. One of them has Fury, one of them has arms. So one of them has the Fury, one of them has opposable thumbs. And Cat going in for as much of a self-heal playstyle, defensive playstyle. Dalaran also playing in super defensively in defensive side, popping off big damage. Actually going to be trinket from that disarm. And it's actually going to go in a battle stance to do some damage to Cat for a little bit. But as you see in the Cat's health not really go anywhere, popping back in a defensive stance. That's going to be more of a self-heal play for a bit. Dalaran does go into battle stance from time to time, which I think is a good move. Sometimes there's arms where you have to get out of defensive stance, you have to get in a battle stance, you have to do the damage. Because you're capping your damage by 20% when you're defensive stance. Going in for Sharpened Blade, maybe you can do some damage to Cat. Probably should have had Avatar together with a Warbreaker and everything combined together with the battle stance. But he's having to shift between defensive stance, offensive stance, and it's super difficult, especially against Cat, who's only got like heal. He's only got one stance, go. Fury Warrior, rage. That's all he does. That's really, like, he doesn't have to watch about stances. So for Dalaran, it's a bit more of a dance. Trying to make those split-second decisions with 6 second, I think, a DR in between the switching stances. Warbreaker into Cat, having to pop in defensive stance with parry. Get himself as much of a defense as possible. Catchica thought maybe to go for Shadow and throw Dalaran charging in while parry's up. Landing a lot of heals, but also landing quite a bit of damage to Cat as well. Although Cat, again, with the self-heals, is super difficult to break through him. Catchica gets some damage of his own. Dalaran popping defensive stance immediately, getting a slow into Catchica. He got on him for a Blade Storm. And Dalaran, again, trying to avoid him as best as possible. Fear onto Cat, Zerka raging out of it. For Dalaran, he got himself another defensive. That's pretty good. More ignore pain. Disarm onto Cat. He's going to go for a battle stance. Looking for a bit of damage while Warbreaker's up. Trying to get those overpowers and Mortal Strikes in. Having to go for defensive stance as soon as Catchican gets his weapons back. And Dalaran looking to be just Blaze Storm out of there. I wonder if Cat is going to go for stance switching here. If he's going to go for weapon switching as a Fury Warrior. Dalaran going back at the battle stance. Actually back at the defensive stance. It looked like he was swapped from one to another. Does this shorten the cooldown of defensive stance and battle stance, or is it still 6 seconds? And Dalaran is still so far surviving. Catchica does not have a stun to lock him down besides his racial. So for Dalaran, he's able to get quite a lot of heal and quite a lot of mobility. Catchica does have disarm though. So for Dalaran, if he goes in for big damage and gets it with a disarm like here, this is going to be big damage loss. But Dalaran still has a lot of Avatar. I have to go for defensive stance as soon as he realizes, you know, I have to swap out him a weapon. I have to play a little bit defensively. And Catchica, I think, is just going to pin him to a corner at this point. Dalaran with not a lot of defenses really left. Executes coming out for Cat. Taking him out. That's a much tougher dance to do as an arms warrior. And Catchica salutes him as a warrior from Warrior. It's super tough. And Necros is going to be up next as a rogue, sub-rogue versus Cat. Double stun, Reaping Flames. There's going to be a big old dress, and Cat needs to recover a lot of health. Trinket did something, I'm not really sure. I think it was against Dalaran. Necro Shadow stepping next to Cat. Fear. Trinket's out of it. That's going to be Warstone for Cat, picking up a little bit of heals with his Enrage Regeneration. That's going to be a blind from the rogue while Cat's defenses are up. And we'll see if Cat swaps to a sword and board against this rogue as a Fury Warrior. I feel like as a Fury, you want to do that a lot less since you already have a lot of self-heals. You know what I mean? Disarm onto the rogue. Necro's vanishing out of it. Catchica looking to AoE him out. It looks like some kind of a dot is left on Necros. Couldn't get himself a proper clean reset. Looks like the dot is off, landing a zap to Cat, who could go Zerka Rage and Whirlwind. Try to see if he can play that game. It looks like Necros is going to take this a little bit slower against Catchican. Went in, and somehow Cat was able to Whirlwind, and the rogue still landing the rupture, rupturing Catchican's through his armor, putting a bleed, landing that cheap shot. Shadow stepping as Cat goes for a leap, which does let him reposition. Short stun onto Catchican. Won't hold him down for too long. Necro's really out of defenses. Cloak Shot is available, I guess, in case any of those Crucible Flame procs apply. Does not get the juke into Cat properly. Expected for Cat to walk off the platform. But he didn't. Necro's looking like he's going to eat that execute. He's really just out of options at the end there. And Cat gives him also another salute from one battle-hardened veteran to another. It looks like Grotalisa is going to be up next. Double Shadow Priest on team 2. For Katchikan, this might be the matchup that's going to be difficult unless he lands those reflects. If he lands good reflects, he might be okay. Bane Fury Warrior, he does have a lot more self-heals. Reflect stun, perfect for Katchikan. Lots of opportunity going in for big damage. Landing those rampages. Grotalisa might have to rotate defenses a lot earlier. That's going to be that... it's going to be a little bit of that Vampiric Embrace, allowing him a bit of self-heals. Katchikan, next interrupt you do could be huge for him. Grotalisa got a lot of damage to the Cat. Zerk Rage coming out. Grotalisa looking to get an interrupt. Executes are coming out back-to-back, having to stop his Azure Beam and goes in for a disperse. Katchikan is so ahead as he pops Recklessness. Mind Control, does he get hit with it? Reflect on the Grotalisa, Mind Control does not happen. Executes are coming out, and it looks like Katchikan takes him out. Told you the perfect Reflect is all he needed. That stun doesn't even bring a stun into Arena. So Katchikan can play the double charge playstyle he normally does. And looks like that route did not last long at all. Katchikan going versus Catalysator. Wait. Catalysator. Call him Cat. This is why I call him Cat for short. Catalysator. Why is your name so hard for me to say unless I focus? I gotta concentrate. Catalysator. Or Catalysator. Catalysator? Is that what it's supposed to be? Either way, Kata getting some dots to the Katchikan while he is mounted up. That's gonna be some cheesy free damage for Kata. Especially if he gets himself if he can somehow get into an Eclipse. If he is playing the Stars build. Which I think Kata does play the Stars build. Every time he gets an Eclipse, stars happen 300% more often. That's the playstyle. And Katchikan, like, over time, he's going to take those Moonfire, Sunfires, but also those Shooting Stars. Shooting Stars, in a way, you can think of it as a third dot. They happen at an RNG, but they do happen quite consistently. That's going to be a bit of that. Thorns for Kata. Katchikan does not want to deal with it at all. He has one Reflect, and that's going to reflect on one set of Thorns. One thing of Thorns. Like one Reflect of Thorns. Bashes the Katchikan, trinkets out of it. Looking to stay aggressive with Kata as the Disarm comes out. And Katchikan forced to use a Fear onto Kata, who trinkets out of it, trying to stay mobile. That's going to be Cat, landing those rampages back-to-back. Short charges for Kata. As he separates from Katchikan, big Star Surge doesn't want to Star Surge into the Reflect. That's going to be a Crucible, though. Katchikan does nab himself a heal with a Bloodthirst. Stun short onto Catalysator. Or otherwise known as Kata, which I probably should just call him just because I'm going to butcher his name either way. And Katchikan doesn't really have a lot of self-heals. Thorns, I think, is going to be done and done. Kata taken out. Katchikan. As I think it's going to be... Wait, do they still have a rogue? Wait, team 2? Do they not... It looks like... No. Okay, so it does look like they had a rogue, but... I'm looking at the shadow piece. His name is... Reapy Cheap. Reapy Cheap? Reap. I guess his name is Reap, but the rogue name is also Reap. Which is weird. But I think it's a bug. Yeah, I was thinking like maybe there's 3 people still on team 2, but I was like, I'm pretty sure I counted 2. Lay gonna be up next versus Kata, hit him with a stun. Mind Blast to follow. It's a Mind Flay as he knows Kata is gonna be getting away from him. He's gonna at least get himself a shield. Barkson comes out for Kata very, very early. As he goes in for a Typhoon. So Kata has quite a lot of people to get through. Trados, Cat, down. Grisina, unstoppable, unspoffable. Jesus. I'm really bad with names, but that is something. Interrupting Lee on his, Lay on Shadow. But Lay does get the hell out of the ASAP. Kato so far have had quite a nice performance versus the Shadow Priest. Dealing with him as best as possible. There's going to be Shadow Fiend dropping on him. And Lay maybe looking up to push in for another stun. Kata does he expect it? He doesn't have a trinket for it. That's going to be a bunch of DPs. Does get a roar before the mind control comes out. And Kata's just waiting to get some cooldowns back. He does have himself big defense is still available. Incarnation not up for 22 seconds. Barkson available very, very soon. And he might be able to make some play out of this. I think Kata at some point does need to go for a Wrath or a Lunar Strike. A couple of hits here and there. Just so he can get even more damage with those Eclipses. Because Eclipses are pretty important for Druids, and the only way we could do it is by using those base abilities. Lay, I think, missing a Mind Blast for a second. Kata is still sitting in bear form. Bash into Lay for a second. As he goes in for a bit of a self-heal. Big damage coming out. Lay, does he go for Disperse? Gets Disperse the last second. Cyclone coming out. Lay. Doesn't get any healing from the Disperse in Kata. I think he's gonna have it. And then Wrath, stun, Lay goes down. Kata actually outplayed the Shadow Priest when the Incarnation came out. Christina is gonna be up next. It's a Feral Druid. That's a whole nother beast. For Kata, this is his biggest challenge right here. It might be an impossible challenge. Does land a cycle into Christina. Christina does not roll a normal trinket. And Kata having to just stag it out of there, bear it out of there. Does go for a bit of a self-heal with Frenzy Regen. As Christina gets himself a reopener. Disarming Christina, not like it does much. Maybe it does reduce the damage slightly. Trying to see if he can land a Cyclone. No, Skull Bash available for Christina. Does land the regrowth off of that Cyclone. As we're at 34% dampening. For Kata, this is going to be a really tough game. Very, very tough game. Bash onto Christina. That's going to be maybe more regrowths. Actually, look at it. He actually has all his health back up and ready to go. Barskin available. Maybe perfect opportunity for Kata to get some damage back to Christina. Trying to see if he can get a Skull Bash out of him. Starfire loading up. Bash by Christina. Look like he's going to go for big damage here. And I think Kata is really out of options. Does get himself a one, maybe final big heal. Renewal comes out as well with the Frenzy Regen. And Christina so far hasn't been able to crack through him, but Barskin is down. Thorns is down, so I think it's going to be maybe next big go for Christina is going to be probably very, very deadly. And Kata needs to find a way to deal with it. I don't think he has dots anymore into Christina. I think Christina is going to be able to get himself a fresh reset. Does get a reopener onto Kata. Super unfortunate. Big bites. At least he's in bear form for it. And got himself a little bit of a self-heal rolling too. Big kill from Crucible. Big roar onto Christina. Hits him with a disarm. That doesn't really do much, but maybe helps him a little. And Christina pops out Thorns. I'm not really sure why. Maybe in case Kata hits him in bear form. Bash to Christina. Kata maybe could go for a Cyclone. Doesn't go into a Cyclone. Has a Barskin available very, very soon. Thorns is up. And Christina is just probably going to burn through those Thorns. Kata, not a lot of health reel available. Unless you can get a heal right now, I think it's lights out. Got himself Crucible. Barely any heals. Trying to land a Cyclone. Going to be a bash. Trinkets out of it. And Christina taking him out. And the Shadow Priest, the last one. Reap. Actually, it's like Rippy Chip. Rip-E Chip. Like Chip and Dale. Last part of his name. I guess we'll call him Rip. Rip gonna get a hit with a rake and rip and a bite. Too perfect. Does get the Skull Bash off. Or does get juked on Skull Bash. So Rip is able to get himself a bit of a self-heal. Barskin available for Christina. Berserk still available. Lots of damage up. And Rip does go in for a Void Eruption with a Vampiric Embrace. So that's a lot of heals available. As long as Christina has dots for Rip, this is huge. Goes in for a Cyclone on the Shadow Fiend. Does get a reopener onto Rip. Should be big damage for Christina. Does get hit with a stun, and Rip is under a lot of pressure. Maybe this person is going to be up next. This is going to be his last defensive up. Not much you can really do about it. Bash, and right before the Disperse even comes in, he went in for a big damage onto Rip. Not much you can really do in that situation. Kachika with them 3 kills. Kata trying to bring it back for his team, but only so much you can do against a Feral Druid. And everybody in the end played really, really well, man. This movie was insane. Dude, he did really, really good. Really good. I actually have a video on Kata from today. A video on Kata going for a 1v5 came out today, so you guys definitely should peep it. He did go against a lot better classes for him, like Death Knights, which are not really all that mobile. But I mean, he even beat a Paladin, so he did really, really well.